Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan bikum. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you can see me and hear me clear, inshallah ta'ala. Bismillah. Inshallah.
It's all there.
I asked the brother to bring me water, and mashallah, an amazing student. He brought me this big bottle, as if I'm gonna be able to drink this bottle. He'll bring me a cup, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Post Umrah sicknesses are pretty normal, so nothing out of the ordinary. Allah bless us to go visit His blessed land and the resting place of our Habib Sallallahu. So it was definitely enjoyable, beneficial. Inshallah gives us the ability to go back again and again, inshallah. No, so I pretty much teach. I teach on site in one of our Miftah Light campuses on Wednesdays from 6 to 7, and from 7 to 8. So I'm not able to go back to Miftah campus. So from 7 to 8, we do 201. I do teach Arabic 201, and then from 8 to 9:20, I do 101. So I'm going back to back, which is enjoyable, alhamdulillah. But normally I would be teaching from the campus, but since I have the Miftah Light classes, I pretty much have to teach from the campus that we have our classes, which is in Kenton, beautiful community in Michigan. Alhamdulillah. Allah bless you all, inshallah. So we have completed our Arabic 101 Nahwa section, right? We ended the discussion of Jumla Ismiya last week. Of course, there were drills that were assigned, not the week before last, the drills that were assigned, and I hope you all were able to cover them. But I do want to spend we only have 3 sessions left. I'm most probably going to add 1 session, inshallah. I hope you all don't mind. We'll add 1 session because I need 4 sessions for the sarf part of it. And in these 4 sessions, we'll be covering sarf. Nahwa is done, right? We started off talking about how words are made and the qualities of a noun. Then we jumped into particles, harf jar, harf nasab. Then we spoke about phrases. We had the possessive phrase and the descriptive phrase. And then we went into saying, okay, we've done all of this. How do you make an actual sentence? And then we spoke about our ability of creating jumla ismiya, nominal sentences that begin with nouns and that give us complete thought. If we've covered all of this in Nahu, what's actually left for us, right? Someone could say, what's left to learn if I've already covered all of this? What we haven't touched on is a discussion of verbs. How do verbs fit into this entire discussion? We haven't talked about it, neither have we touched on it, because all of the discussions of verbs have to do with sarf, which is the second section of our 101 class. Right? What is sarf? Anyone want to comment on what sarf is? What is sarf? What is it? What does it have to do? How does it connect with nahu? What is the purpose of it? Any thoughts? Any thoughts from anyone? What is sarf? Morphology and verbs. Okay, it's not wrong. What else? Wordings. Okay. Time frames, present. Okay, great. So sarf, in essence, sarf in its basic lexical meaning, it actually means change. That's what it literally means. It means change. This is why, for those that have gone to Arab countries, that those Umrah anywhere in the Arab countries you go to, it says sarraf. Sarraf means a money exchange because you're changing, right? that change is also called sarf. If you wanted to go to someone and ask them if they had spare change in Arabic, you would ask them, عندك sarf? Do you have change? That's what sarf literally means. It means change, right? So, for all in all, the idea of sarf is change. That's what it means. So, what does it have to do with sarf, though? Like, what? How does it connect to what we're learning? Verbs are constantly changing, and that's why it's called, morphology, because it's continuously morphing, right? It doesn't stop. It continues and it continues and it continues. They call it Arabic etymology or morphology. Morphology makes some, they both, have their own meanings. But to continuously change is why it's called sarf. And our goal is to be able to look at that word that is constantly changing, and despite the constant changes it's going through, still know what it's referring to, and still know what it's meaning, and still know what's actually happening, right? Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good to learn how to ask for it, right? Hopefully we can take more from that. But 100%. So now, for example, before I move ahead, what is stronger in strength? Are nouns stronger or are verbs actually stronger? What's more dominant? What's the more dominant form? Is it nouns or is it verbs? Yeah, so nouns are actually more dominant because verbs have two limitations. The first limitation of a verb is that verbs are always limited. Yeah, nouns are independent of time. Great. So the first thing is nouns are independent of time, and verbs are dependent on a time frame. So they're always confined by a time frame. So either it's past, present, or future, right? So it can never be two time frames at the same time. And that's number one. Number two, verbs are always dependent upon a doer, so they need a noun. You cannot have a meaning of a verb. You cannot have a complete meaning of a verb without a noun being present in it and giving it its completed meaning. So in order for the meaning of a verb to be felt, you would need a doer that completes it, right? So that's two things that limit a verb. عَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Allah taught Adam alayhi salam all the nouns, because everything comes from nouns. So a verb also comes from a noun. When a verb comes from a noun, it comes from nouns that are three letters, which are called the root letters, right? And from there, the verb continues to change and change. And as it's changing, you're identifying the meaning. Now, the change has a certain purpose, and I'm going to get to it in a few seconds. But before I get there, let's first review this. Sarf literally means change. In the context of Arabic, sarf refers to the knowledge of verbs and their changes. How it's continuously changing, and why it's changing, how the meanings are also being impacted. In Arabic, every word has root letters, right? The root letters don't change. Everything around it changes. So let me ask you, how do you identify the role of a noun in a sentence? Through what? We learned this way earlier in our Arabic career. How do you identify the role of a word in a sentence? A noun, right? Not a word. The role of a noun in a sentence. Is it because of it ma'rifa and nakira? I'rab, great. The way to identify the status or the role of a word is through status. If it's rafa, it's because it's a doer. If it's nasab, it's because of this. Status identifies the role. Now, we don't have status in sarf. We don't have status on verbs. Verbs don't have the concept of status. They don't have i'rab. So what do they have? Verbs, just like how nouns have i'rabs, verbs have suffixes, like things that you add to the ending of the word to show the different meanings of it. It doesn't have i'rab, but it has these different letters that you're adding to the ending of the root word that gives you different meanings. And it shows you the role of the word in the sentence. So there's no i'rab when it comes to verbs. So the whole idea of i'rabs is only for noun. It's not for verbs, right? When it comes to verbs, what we're trying to learn is conjugation, that the word is continuously changing. And that change happens in different ways. Like this is a small chart. I want you to look at it. Like the word is ayn, lam, and mim. This is at a much higher level, right? Ayn, lam, and mim. From ayn, lam, and mim, you have ilm, which means knowledge. Then you have alam. Alam and ilm mean two completely different things. Ilm means knowledge, whereas alam means flag or symbol, right? Has some similarity because symbol also comes with knowledge. Then you have like allama, which means knowledgeable person. Then you have i'lam, and then you have alima, which means to learn, and ta'allama, which means to learn as well. So all of these are coming from the same root letter of ilm, ilm, right? This is at a higher level. But now, to kind of bring us back to square one, while we're learning verbs, we know that verbs have tenses. What we just covered over here is beyond the conjugation. Even in the basic structure, a word that has root letters can look different. And each time the look changes, the meaning also slightly changes. And our goal in Sarf is to understand what each pattern means. So meanings are not based on status. Meanings are based on patterns, because we don't have statuses in Arabic in Sarf. We have patterns in Sarf, right? So there are four types of verbs. You have Madi, you have Mudari, you have Amr, and we have Nahi. So Madi is past tense. Right? In English as well, we have past tense. Mudari is present and future. So the same pattern, now it's all based on patterns. As I said, there's no status, there's patterns. So Madi is past, Mudari is present and future. The pattern of Mudari represents present and future. You have Amr, which is command. Then you have Nahi. You have Nahi, which is prohibition. So all of these are different forms, different types of verbs. Each of them have their own internal conjugation, but it doesn't matter where you go and how you learn Sarf, these are four types of verbs, right? Each one has a different conjugation, right? And the conjugation is based upon the time frame. So past tense will have its own, present and future will have its own, command will have its own, and prohibition will have its own. That's why I said that we need 4 weeks to cover Sarf, because there's 4 types of verbs. The first one is Madi, that if it fits on this pattern, the verb will be considered a Madi verb, because it fits on the pattern, right? Now, if it fits on another pattern, it'll be considered Mudari. And if it fits on another pattern, it may be considered Amr or Nahi. So our goal is to first identify the base pattern, and then each of these will have various conjugations. Similar to, if anyone has learned Spanish here, if anyone has learned Spanish or French for that purpose, French is very similar as well. There's nothing else similar about French to Arabic except for this. French is not a beautiful, eloquent language. Maybe it is. We were forced to learn French in Canada when we were in boarding school. But nonetheless, the idea of conjugation is the same, right? Arabic has the same setup. Now, let me ask you guys a question. And inshallah, based on this, we can get to the conclusion of this discussion and go on and start working on the chart. How many conjugations do you think each of these verbs should have? And again, we'll just stick to Madi because that's the first one that we're doing. Madi, Mudari, Amr, and Nahi. How many conjugations should Madi have? Like how many? You just throw a number out there. Is it in French? Je m'appelle Abdul Wahab. I think I got that right? My name is that right? I know the conjugation. J'ai, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elles, something like that. So still got a little bit. 7, 8, 14. Okay. 3 conjugations, 5. Okay, let's break it down. Let's start from the top. Let's start from the top, right? What is the objective of each conjugation? What's the objective of each conjugation? Bismillah. What are we trying to achieve from it? This is the way that I like to learn sarf, and I like to cover it. The way some of us learned it is more so just memorizing. But what is the objective of each conjugation? Like, what are we trying to gain from it? Well, we are trying to, and again, anyone, great, Zahid, Brother Zahid. Each conjugation, what we are trying to gain from it is who is the doer. Because despite the different amount of times the conjugation is changing, whether it's 14, whether it's 11, whether it's 10, it doesn't matter how many times it's changing, what you're really trying to figure out is who is the doer. Because the verb's meaning doesn't change. Like, ذَكَرَ means to remember. So it doesn't matter how many times you change it with the suffix, it's still going to mean remember. It's still going to mean, nasra will still mean help, right? Abada will still mean worship. So what's actually being affected or impacted is the continuous change is giving you a different doer. So each suffix, it's implying a different doer. Now, how many doers could you possibly have? So you have, in Arabic, you have point of view. So you have third person, second person, first person. Third person, second person, first person. So you have 3 right there. Now in third person, don't we have, like in Arabic we know, we have genders, right? So you have masculine and feminine. So third person masculine, third person feminine. And also we learn in Arabic that we have quantity. So third person masculine, singular, dual, plural. Third person feminine, singular, dual, plural. So we have 6, right? 6 already. Because that's third person. He helped. She helped. They helped. So that's 6 right there. Someone says, why do we have 6 for? Third person, second person is only 2. No, you say we have 6 because each of them have 3. Because quantity in Arabic is singular, dual, and plural. Right? So we have 6 right there. Now, will second person be any different? Or will it be a mirror of the third person? It'll be a mirror of the third person, meaning that you also need to have singular, dual, and plural for second person, for masculine and feminine. So now you have 12, 6 and 6. So how did we get to 12? We have third person, second person. They both need masculine and feminine, and each gender has 3 of each. Right? So we have 12. Does that make sense, everyone, so far? Does everyone know why we have 12? Of course, I'm going to walk through the chart, but I want to give you a visual. And the last part of this is first person. So should I have 3 or should we have 2 for first person? Should we have 3 or 2? First person, you only have 2, I and we. Right? So it's 14. So you have 14 conjugations. How? Yeah, there's a chart. So I'm going to go through the chart. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm actually going to walk you through the chart. But I first want you to try to, like, without even looking at the chart, know why there's 14. Why do we have 14 conjugations? Each conjugation is attempting to tell us who is doing the verb. Again, in English, the pronoun is always independent of the verb. So for example, you would say she ate, or you say he slept. In Arabic, the pronoun is actually found in the verb. Now, if the pronoun is found in the verb and the verb doesn't change, that won't make sense. So in order for you to be able to know which pronoun is correct, the suffix will change. And that suffix will change 14 times because you have, in Arabic, the verb can be referring to a third party, and that third party could be either male or female. And the third party that is male or female could be of any of the quantities that I mentioned, singular, dual, and plural. So you have 6. Or the verb that I'm referring to that was done, that was carried out, could have been carried out by a second party, you. But it could have been you male, you female, both of you males, both of you females. So we have 6 more. Or that act of helping could have been carried out by I or we. So you have 14. The reason why I'm saying this is the only purpose behind identifying the conjugation is to know which pronoun is being referred to. By doing so, we will be able to know who the doer of the sentence is. So here we go. Fi'l Madi is past tense. We talked about that. It all starts with 3 letters. Every verb starts with 3 letters, okay? I talked about this as well, but just again, every verb starts with 3 letters. Fa, ayn, and lam. Or 99% of the verbs, not every verb. Fa, ayn, lam. Dhal, kaf, and ra. Dhakara, dhal, kaf, ra. Dhakara. Now, you'll never see dhakara get compromised. You'll see suffixes in madi, not in mudari, but in madi you'll see different things being added to the ending of it. Based upon what's being added to the ending of it, you'll be able to identify the pronoun, the correct pronoun, right? Is it a he? Is it a she? Is it a we? Is it a you? All of that, dhakara won't change. What will be changing throughout the entire process is, will it be dhakara? Would it be dhakarat? Would it be dhakarna? That's going to be changing. And our goal will be that regardless of what suffix is there, I know what pronoun is being referred to. Nasara, 3 letters. Fataha, 3 letters. So the 3 letter is a base, and then we build on it. We build a suffix, we build a prefix for mudari, and by doing so, we're able to add more meaning to the verb. Now, the goal of understanding that there's 3 letters is that we never lose sight of the root letters, because sometimes in the process of making verbs, we forget which ones are the root letters, and it becomes difficult for us to even translate. So the root letters are always 3, and that's what you see in the dictionary. That's what you see in all these examples. Okay, there are 14 conjugations in fi'l madi. Each of these are called sigha. They're called sigha, right? Based upon what they're referring to. I'll give you, anyone speak Urdu here? I'm sure some people speak Urdu, right? So in Urdu, you could say, Zayd a raha tha, or a raha hai. Zayd is coming. And if it was a female, you would say a rahi hai. A raha hai versus a rahi hai. And for those that didn't learn how to speak Urdu, but they're from Desi families, then you would probably not know the difference, right? You should learn. I don't know the difference as much either. I learned it because I went to Pakistan and studied. But my point is that even in the Urdu language, we have the component of pronoun hidden within the sentence. That's called sigha. In Arabic, we also have that. So if you use a wrong suffix, just like how arahi versus araha, right? If you use a wrong suffix, you would receive the wrong doer, or you would be implying the wrong doer. When we're conjugating, these are 3 things that we're looking at. Point of view, third person, second person, first person, masculine versus feminine, singular, dual, and plural. These are the 3 things that we are constantly, this is the reason why it's changing. Either it's because of the third person, second person, first person concept, male versus female, masculine versus feminine, because even verbs have the masculine and the feminine concept, singular, dual, and plural. Okay, bismillah. You guys ready for this? The best part about this is that you've already learned this. Here we go. These pronouns you've already learned. You've already covered the pronoun concept. Huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antuna, ana, in nahnu. You've already learned these 14 pronouns, right? In nahwa. These 6 are third person because they're referring to a person that it's not referring to the person that you're speaking to. It's referring to the person that you're speaking about, right? So because of that, it's called third person. Right, so we learned huwa, we learned huma and hum, hiya, huma, and hunna. All of these are referring to third parties. Now, of course, The first three are masculine, then the second three are feminine. So 6 are done. Then we have the next 6, which are all second person. Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. All of these are what? Second person. We learned this in Nahwa as well. In first person, in Nahnu. So we have 14 pronouns and according to 14 conjugations. Now our goal, all that's left for us to understand, is okay, which suffix represents which pronoun. I got the concept that the verb changing doesn't change the meaning of the verb, it changes the doer of the verb. Based on the suffix, a different pronoun is being represented. But the question becomes, which suffix represents which pronoun, right? That's the challenge. That's all we have left. We understand why there's 14, because there's 14 pronouns. But how do I know which pronoun is being referred to? Now here we go. You guys ready for this? Bismillah. Huwa. Huwa is he. How do I say who? How do I show that the verb is referring to a he? How do I show that the verb is referring to a he? So for example, nasara is a verb, nasara. So for the verb to represent the doer he, you actually do not add anything. You don't add anything to it. The pronoun is within. So huwa is inside of nasara. So when, for example, if I see in the Quran Allah saying khalaqa, khalaqa means to create. خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Who created? خَلَقَ means he created. We're not saying who he helped. We're saying who helped. So nasara, khalaqa, right? ذَكَرَ, he remembered. The doer of the sentence or the doer of the verb is the pronoun. Which pronoun can be found in these three? The fact that there's no suffix means that it's referring to he, huwa. So anytime you have 3 letters as a verb and there's nothing added at the ending of it, that means the doer is a he, huwa. Someone could say, man, how can I tell the difference between this and a noun? You know, like what if I thought khalaqa was a noun? What if I thought nasara was a noun? And the answer to that would be, no, it can't be a noun, because we learned something called ma'rifa and nakira. And these verbs are not ma'rifa. They don't have ma'rifa or nakira signs, right? They don't have alif lam or tanween. The fact they don't have alif lam and tanween shows you that they're absolutely not nouns. The reason why we learn nouns first is to know that verbs do not look like nouns. They don't have alif lam and tanween, right? So we know they're verbs because there's no alif lam or tanween. There's no ma'rifa and nakira component to it. There is no suffix. It means it's referring to huwa. So if I wanted to say he wrote, the verb to write is kataba. How do I say he wrote? Keep it to the base level. Kataba means he wrote. Kataba means he wrote. If I wanted to say he recited, he read. He read. Qara'a means to read. Qara'a. Well, base form will mean he read. No suffix means he. So we got the first one, which is he. Now, if we got he, how do I say she? Hiya is, now I'm going to use the Arabic pronouns from now on. In Arabic, she is hiya. How do I say she helped? Now there's a suffix. Nasarat. Nasarat. That t right there is indicating that the doer of this verb is she helped. Now if someone says, how do you get she from nasarat? We say we're not getting she from nasarat, we're getting she from the pronoun that is being shown through this right here, nasarat. How do I say she created? Khalaqat. How do we say she remembered? Now, nothing, the first 3 letters don't change because they're the root letters. They don't get impacted. But the suffix changes, right? ذكرت. This changes. She recited. قرأت. You see that? So a sakin ta refers to the hiya pronoun, right? ذكرت, قرأت. If I was to ask you, can you go ahead and tell me how to say she wrote? How would you say that? She wrote. I'm doing the singular versions first. Rather than giving you the whole chart, I want to give you at least 5 of them, so you can kind of understand what's happening. How do I say she? Kataba. Kataba means to write. How do I say she wrote? Kataba means to write. Katabat. Okay. Katabat. Qara'at means to read, right? So abada. Abada means worship. Abada would mean he worshipped. Of course, Madi, ed. How would I say she worshipped? She worshipped. Abada is the verb. Abada. Abada. How do I say she worshipped? If I want to say she worshipped and I use the word abada, that's completely wrong. It's like, it's like saying she to Zayd. It won't work. I know we're living in a confusing time, but we still have genders. So in the Arabic language, genders matter. So how would I say she worshipped? Abadat. Great, mashallah. The goal is not to memorize everything. The goal is to be able to identify it correctly. So when you see it in the Quran, or when you want to write it, you can write it with the right suffix. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. How do I say you in Arabic? You, like male. You male. Just to be clear. How do I say you? Anta. Okay. Now I want to say you one male helped. Nasar. Nasarta. No, ta, not a sakin, but with a fatha on it. How do I say you created? خلقت. We just refer to Allah. خلقت الأرض. You created the earth. How do I say you remembered? ذكرت. It's not like nahwa. Nahwa always has like curveballs. It sort of doesn't. It's very consistent. Like once you learn it, you learn it. Now you just have to memorize it and keep repeating it. How do I say you recited? قرأ is to recite. But I want to say you read. Not he read, you read. A lot of times people get confused. Yeah, because nasar, it's nasarta. It's not nasara. You cannot say nasarata. It's khalaqta, dhakarta. The way that is pronounced, right? How do I say you recited? قرأت. كتبت. Correct. كتبت means you wrote. قرأت means you recited. Right? كتبت. Second person pronouns are easier to identify. And you'll realize really quick why. Second person pronouns are easier to identify. Why? Because the actual pronoun can be found in the suffix. So for example, anta is you. So you notice nasarta, khalaqta. That you see that consistency of having the ta at the end, the fatha. Nasarta. ذكرت كتبت. All of that is to show أنت. The same is for أنتِ. أنتِ is you female, right? So if I wanted to say you one female helped, past tense, of course, it would be the same thing. نصرتِ. All that would change. It won't be نصرت. It would be نصرتِ. It would be خلقتِ. It would be ذكرتِ. It would be كتبتِ. Right? It would be قرأتِ. The pronoun is actually found in the actual verb, which is pretty cool to be able to see. Like it's actually being reflected in the verb. Whereas as third person ones, there's no huwa being reflected in nasara. There's no hiya physically being reflected in nasarat. It's not there. It's not something which is present, right? But second person ones do have that impact. So remember that when you're learning the rest of the conjugations. Then how do I say I in Arabic? Ana. Again, not reflected. Nasartu. Nasartu. Not nasarta, not nasarti, nasartu. This is where you see the beauty of the Arabic language. The change of i'rab will change the entire flow of the sentence, because when you're trying to say I, you're actually saying you. Imagine someone saying, someone tries to say that you hit, and they keep saying darabtu. Darabtu means I hit, right? That wouldn't fly because you're saying I, but you're trying to say you. So the change is simple. It's simply found in the haraka. Nasartu, katabtu. Now in the Quran, whenever we see these types of suffixes, we only did 4 so far, or 5, we know who Allah is referring to as a doer. It's either he, it's she, it's I, it's you, right? And the only reason why we know that is because we're able to identify the reason or the pronoun that is being shown through the suffix. The pronoun that is being shown through the suffix, right? So that's the goal of understanding the conjugation. We're not trying to understand the verb in the conjugation. We already know what khalaqa means. We already know what nasara means. The conjugation is simply telling us who is doing it or who has done it. So we did these 5 right now, the first person or the singular version, but we have a whole chart to cover. So I need you all with me, right? So we started off with dhakara, no suffix, moving right to left. Then dhakara, if I'm trying to say 2 people, the suffix is alif. Dhakara, that alif is a suffix. So if I see nasara with an alif, that means 2 people helped, and they're both males. They both helped. If I see like kataba with an alif, that means they both wrote. Does that make sense? That idea of the suffix of alif represents duality. Then you have dhakaru, it's plural, right? Plural. Dhakaru. And this shows what? What does this show? Plural, but masculine. It's still masculine, but it's plural now. So dhakara, dhakara, dhakaru, dhakara, dhakara, dhakaru, nasara, nasara, nasaru. So all that's changing is a suffix. So if we understand that whenever there's a waw added to the ending of a verb, fi'l madhi, it refers to plural, masculine. So every time you see a verb that ends this way, abadu, kafaru, shakaru, you'll always know it's referring to they, male, right? Then dhakarat we already learned, it means hiya. Dhakarata, now they 2 females, it's not just alif, it's ta and alif. Ta and alif, right? So if I saw just an alif, it's they 2 males. But if I saw a ta and an alif, it's they 2 females. And then it's dhakarna, which means all of them. All of those females. Right? So just quickly, let's repeat let's repeat this conjugation. And if you can say it out loud, if someone's next to you, then just excuse yourself. But you should definitely, or just let them know you're going to be reading out loud, because this is the only way to learn it is by repeating it. So Bismillah, repeat after me. ذكر ذكر ذكروا ذكرت ذكرتا ذكرنا. Okay, let's do one more verb. Nasara. Nasara means huwa, just he. I want to say they both helped. Nasara. Okay, that's both of them helped. Nasaru, all of them. So I got third person masculine out of the way. Then third person feminine. Nasarat, Nasarata, Nasarna. Right? So this conjugation is not changing the meaning of the verb. This conjugation is implying who the doer is. Right? Does that make sense, everyone? So far, we have third person. So far, we have the third person conjugation. Am I cutting for anyone else? Am I cutting for anyone else, or is it just you? Okay. So does that make sense so far, everyone? We got third person taken care of. Now we turn towards second person. You would use the masculine version. The masculine version is inclusive of feminine, and like if it's plural, right? You would use dhakaru or nasaru. So dhakarta, anta. Now antuma is saying both of you. All you have to do is add it. Dhakartuma, nasartuma. In Arabic, saying all of you males is antum. We already learned this in Nahu. So to say all of you remembered, all I'm doing is adding tum to the end. Dhakartum, nasartum. As I mentioned earlier a few minutes ago, the second person versions are a little bit easier because they're actually reflected in the verb. Like anti, dhakarti, antuma, dhakartuma, antunna, dhakartunna. It's being reflected in the actual verb. Right? Dhakartu, ana. Dhakarna. Now dhakarna and dhakarna are similar. So we have to be careful with these two. Yes. These two we have to be a little bit careful with. Dhakarna is they, female. But dhakarna is we, with the alif there. So it's a noon and alif. It's not just a noon. So this entire chart is a full conjugation. So 6 for third person. Why do we have 6? 3 for masculine, 3 for feminine. Then we have 6 for second person, 3 for masculine, 3 for feminine, right? So that's 12. In each of them, obviously have singular, dual, and plural. What we're trying to focus on is, okay, let me identify the endings of these. We know we've covered 5 in detail. The others we just read together. The second person ones are quite easy because that's exactly how the pronoun also looks. So the only way to remember these is to actually kind of repeat them as much as you can. In this Arabic proverb that says that in order to learn Nahu, you need the mind of a king. And to learn Sarf, a person needs to have like a tongue of a dog. I mean, obviously not a negative connotation, but they need to repeat themselves a lot. It's a lot of repetition. But we did not jump into the chart right away because we also wanted to understand why we have 14 conjugations, right? So now I think we all know why there's 14. The next stage is being able to identify them as we see them. So this will be our first test. Let's go. Bismillah. Take your time and tell me what pronoun is hidden within fatahtum. Mudaf. Yeah, it's mudaf doesn't have alif lam or tanween. neither does a verb have alif, lam, or tanween, right? One of the best ways to be able to tell the difference is look at the word after the mudaf. If it has look at the word next to it. If the word next to it has kasra, that means it's going to be mudaf. If it doesn't have kasra, that means most probably the word is a verb. Yeah, so I want you all to tell me the Arabic, if you don't mind. Like antum. Let's try to use antum. Fatah. How did you know? Because of the fact that fatahtum has the tum at the end. Let me change it. What if it was fatahtu? What would the pronoun be then? What would the pronoun be if it was fatahtu? This identifying is more important than memorizing a chart. Fatahtu is ana. Fatahti is one female. Anti. Fatahtu is ana. I opened. Right? Okay. The next one is, take your time and tell me, sharibtu. Again, it has a tu ending. We just did it right now. What would the tu ending mean over here? What would the tu ending mean over here? Ana. Great. It says ba'adat. Now, ta. Yeah, if you guys recall. What is ta referring to? Who was far? Who was far? Great. Hiya. Hiya. She. La'iba. Again, alif. You see the alif ending? Why is there an alif ending? That means it's not huwa, because huwa would not have any suffix. So since there's an alif there, that means it represents a different pronoun. Huma. That's correct. Huma. Okay. Labistunna. Labistunna. Again, tunna ending. This ending is something that you're not foreign to, because we've learned it in Nahwa as well. What ending does it have? Which pronoun does it represent? Yeah, great. You are female, which is an tunna. Kharajtuma. Again, tuma, right? Again, that's why I said second person is a little easier, because you can already kind of tell tuma refers to antuma, right? Dharabu. Dharabu. What's happening with dharabu? Dharabu. 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 So always try to always start the chart in your head as well. Dharaba, no suffix. Dharaba, dharabu, right? Home, they many meals. Awesome, bismillah. So that was our first test. There's some Quranic ayat that I have over here. I'm just going to highlight one or two of them, and I'm going to ask you to give me the pronoun. Allah says over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ شَكَرْتُمْ. So now, in the word shakartum, what pronoun do you all see? If who is grateful? If who is being grateful? You all. If you all are grateful. Great. Antum. Antum. You have asharat. Asharat. What pronoun is being represented in asharat? Which pronoun is being represented in asharat? Hiya. It's referring to Maryam alayhi salam. She pointed. Okay, rather than me telling you where the verb is, in ayah number 3, can you tell me where we have a fi'l maldi? Where is there a fi'l maldi in ayah number 3? Without me saying it, you tell me where the verb is, and then therefore thereafter you can go ahead and give me the pronoun as well. The first word is a verb. Wajada. So the alif there, you see the alif? That's what we talked about with the dual. They both. Wajada refers to Musa and Yusha. Ibadana is not. A verb will never start with a kasra, like this. It always starts with a fatha. So that's one way to kind of identify. This is a mudaf ilay. Our servants. Right? Atayna is a verb. Atayna. Atayna means we gave. Inna, for example, Allah uses inna a'taynaka. We talked about this in Nahwa as well, where an attached pronoun can be an object. This is also we. We gave it to him. Okay, let's do one more. In this ayah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمَا. Can we identify a verb? كفروا. كفروا. Great. Yes. If someone was to identify, the last one is also correct. But there's more happening there. But we can tell that it's a verb. أنذرت. Ta. Anta is there. Okay. Now, there's many more examples of this, and I'm probably gonna spend maybe just a few more seconds on this. Balaghat. We haven't learned the vocab words on page 73 in your book. Your sarf begins, right? Your sarf begins, and when your sarf begins, on the second or third page, you have all the verbs that we use. So as you're going through this, try your best to figure out how to spend your time on the verbs. Like memorize the verbs, sit down, read them. Balaghat. She reached. Pronoun is hiya. Okay, so I'll tell you what the word means, and then you can go ahead and tell me what the pronoun is. I'm not focused on the translation. Qatala. The meaning of qatala is to kill. Now, what's the pronoun in qatala? Who killed who? Who killed? No one killed anyone. But who is the doer of this verb? Is it both of them, both of you? Is it he? Is it she? Huma. They both. Males. Nadhara means to warn. So who is warning here? Is it hiya? Is it antunna? Is it hunna? Who is warning? They. They all. Yes, hunna is correct. Very good. Katabtuma. Everyone knows what kataba means. Kataba means to write. So who is writing? To me, it looks like huma. But maybe it's huma, maybe it's not. You can tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm right. They females, correct. Hunna. No, another means to warn. It also means to give up. It means it can refer to both. كتبتما like نذيرا وبشيرا, a warner. كتبتما is what? أنتما. Not huma, أنتما. Last one. خلقوا. خلقا. خلقا. خلقوا. Who's it referring to? They all males, right? Whom pronoun. So there's the more repetition we have, the better it is. The more we're able to create a sense of confidence and being able to do the drills that we're going to do right now. Inshallah, I'm going to open the drill book for us, and we are entering into sarf territory. That's why I like doing nahwa first. Yeah, katabtuma is antuma, right? You two males or you two females, could be either or. The reason why I like doing sarf first is because everyone now knows pronouns. So this process is a little bit simpler for us to go over. So page 73, on page 74, you have some terminologies that we touched on. Now again, the book is of course available for you in your portal. And then you have, on page 75, you have these verbs. And these verbs are used quite often. So you want to go ahead and try your best to spend some time learning these verbs. These are the only verbs that we use in our class, right? I won't use, it's another that means to vow as well. You can refer to both. So these are the verbs that you need. You don't need anything outside of this for the sake of the drills, the quizzes, and so on and so forth. So what we were doing earlier was a chart. This chart that's broken into 14 conjugations. You see it in front of you. Every time there's something added, you'll see that it's in green. That green shows that it's an added letter, right? The red means that it's feminine. The blue means that it's masculine. Right? That's why it's red and blue. We don't need to focus on the numbers right now. Inshallah, when we get to it, I will cover it. But I will tell you, inshallah. I don't confuse you yet. G. So you have nasara, nasara, nasaru, nasarat, nasarata, nasarna. You see this? All of these are suffixes. And now this is where I will never be able to tell if you've done this or not. But one of the most important parts about learning this chart is actually sitting with somebody or on your own and recording yourself and repeating the chart in memorizing it. So just muscle memory, right? You have all these different verbs like akala, razaqa, fataha, balagha, and you can go ahead and say it to 3 people if you have people that you can say it to. If you don't have anyone that you can say it to, just read it to yourself. Your goal is not to say it like in 20 seconds or say it 5 times in one breath. The idea is that you know the flow of it from top to bottom, right? And the best way to test it is drill number 1. Drill number 1 is asking you to take a verb like fataha, for example. Fataha means to open. Take fataha and write the whole verb. Fataha, fataha, fatahu. See, like you write it. Now, as you're writing it, you're gonna get stuck. Here, is it fatah? What is it? You might have to look back at the previous chart. It's okay, but this process will help you solidify and make it concrete. So fatah. Now, how do I say they both females opened? Is it fatahna? You look back at the previous chart and you'll see that it's fatahata. Now, if you first do some oral drills, like repeat it multiple times, and then you do this, it'll be better because you won't need the chart as much. And you're doing 3 of these. By the 3rd one, you should not need the chart at all. That should be your goal. You should be able to write it on your own. This is good for writing practice as well. Drill number 2. Drill number 2 is, for this you would need the vocab on page 75 and 76. What I'm asking you to do is translate it for me and give me the pronoun. If you want to like figure out what to do first, do the pronoun first. Do the translation second. So nasartum, what pronoun is in nasartum? Antum. What pronoun is in nasara? And what pronoun is found in nasara? Like who helped? So you can do pronoun first and then do translation next, as we did it in our class as well. What pronoun is found in nasara? Huwa, right? What pronoun is found in balaghat? Balaghat. Huwa as well, or is it something else? Now, your mind should be fairly, like, you should have a strong grasp of this by now, by the time you finish these drills, right? Because now you've memorized it, you've written it down. So now when you see balaghat, it's a no-brainer, it's here. It's like saying alif lam, you know it's ma'rifah, right? That's how clear these should be for us. Qatala, okay, alif at the end, that's a suffix that refers to huma. So this is what we want to go through quickly, inshallah. Take your time with it. You have 36 of these. First, do the pronouns. There is not a single one that will be hard for you to do, because it's 14 conjugations that are continuously being repeated again and again and again and again. It won't change. It doesn't matter how complicated the fi'l madi looks, the ending of it will always tell you the pronoun. Always. Because there does come a time where fi'l madi is like 5 letters, which we'll be doing in Sarf 201. But even in those examples, the ending of it gives it away. Mudaf seems similar to a verb. No, not really, because mudaf, the only thing that mudaf has similar to a verb is that it has no alif, lam, and tanween. The mudaf doesn't have suffixes. Mudaf doesn't have these endings of a ta or an alif or a noon or a ta alif or a mim alif. The only time you should ever be confused between a mudaf and a verb is in its most basic form, nasara. That's it. Because every other form of it, there's conjugation that is being shown. So that ending of it will tell you that it's a verb, right? The only time that it can ever be similar is in one form. So I don't find it to be similar. Only the base form can be similar, right? That's so normally when we cover verbs, I always remind people about that. That mudaf is only similar to huwa. Nothing else, right? Nasara, everything else has suffixes. So if someone's like, look, kasaba, there's no alif lam, there's no tanween, so it's a mudaf. No, but kasaba has a suffix. And only verbs have suffixes, not nouns. Nouns have i'rab, whereas verbs have conjugations. So that's where you kind of differentiate between the both. I hope that makes some sense, inshallah. But yeah, the base version can be sometimes a little confusing. The base version, 100%. Okay, so this is drill number 2. And I think if you all do this drill, wallahi, you'll be walking into, like, it's like a walk in the park for you afterwards. It'll be so smooth for you to open up the Quran in the same way you can identify like how a noun is. Is a noun ma'rifa or nakira? Is a noun masculine or feminine? You'll be able to identify the pronoun in seconds because you've understood the construct of it, right? People memorize the chart and they know how to say it very fast. But when they're reading the Quran and you ask them, okay, can you conjugate that verb for me? Like who is being referred to in this verb? They might struggle with it, right? It's because we haven't been able to identify it correctly. So being able to identify it is equally important, if not more important, than memorizing the entire chart. But both should be given enough time. We have a whole week for this, inshallah. And then you have from English to Arabic. This is a little bit more challenging because it requires you to look back at the vocab. So, for example, you can't translate this if you don't know how to say help. So you would have to go back to the vocab book or the vocab page, and help in there is nasara. So you all males helped. Nasara is help. So now I'm going to do a few of these. I'll give you the verb, but you give me the correct conjugation. Bismillah. You all males helped. How do I translate this in Arabic? Nasara means help, so I'll put nasara there for you. So here's your head start. But I don't want to say he helped. I'm saying you all males helped. Okay, anyone else? Nasaru would mean they all males helped. This is normal. Everyone, this is common. It says you all. So it's actually nasar tum. Nasaru is they all. Third person. Right? You all is second person. Okay. The second one is, I hope that made sense, right? The second one is to refuse. The verb which means to refuse is mana'a. Mana'a. So again, we're not saying he refused. We're saying they, not you now. Now let's focus on this. It's not saying you females refused. It's saying they all females refused. So what would be the suffix that we add over here? What would I add over here? Great, mashallah. Mana', nah. I add a noon. If it was you all, it would be mana'tunna. I would need to add a noon and a ta. Okay. It says, number 13. Both of those females wrote. The verb write is kataba. Both of them, not both of you, both of them females wrote. If it doesn't have an F, consider it to be masculine. And inshallah, this is pretty, it's challenging, but it's also, I find it to be very fulfilling. People that say Arabic is hard, many of you that are sitting here, you've already completed your education in college, or you're going through it. You've learned or learning things like chemistry, physics, and economics, and difficult subjects. If you're able to do that, you're also going to be able to learn this, inshallah. The difference is we spend a lot of time learning that, right? So if you give a little bit more time to this, you will master this concept, inshallah. As a professional, you'll know sarf and nahwa very well. And then inshallah you can teach it to people as well. Both of them wrote. كتبتما is both of you. كتبتا. If I wrote كتبا, it would be both of them, but it would be masculine, not feminine. Okay. So right here, like this concept of looking for the vocab word, just go to page 75, look for it, and come back. And look, 36 or 40 might take you some time. I would say do at least 20 of them. Do 20. Even 20 will be a good number to hit. Like 20 solid answers for these though. And then drill number three is underline the past tense verb in each ayah and state the pronoun. Forget the translation. Let's leave that out for now because we did enough of it. But state the pronoun. So for example, and let's go to ayah number 3. Number 1, 2, and 3. Drill number 1, 2, and 3. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَهَبَ اللَّهُ بِنُورِهِمْ وَتَرَكَهُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. How many past tense verbs do we have here? I'll do the first one with us. ذهب. Huwa is a pronoun. Taraka. Tarakahum. But the pronoun in taraka is huwa. Whom is the object. So two verbs that I found. Okay, let's go to ayah number 7. This one you do for me, inshallah. If you all can help me with ayah number 7. What are the two verbs? What are the verbs in ayah number 7? I kind of already said there's two. Which ones are they? Okay, akhadna. We don't know what it means. We know it's a verb. And guess what? We also know the pronoun. It's nahnu, it's we. Because na and rafa'na. We took a covenant from all of you and we raised you above the mountain of Tur. Normally, if the verb in this ayah is referring to a specific pronoun, if there's another verb in the ayah, a lot of times it refers to the same pronoun unless there's a change somewhere. And that's always enjoyable to look for. So it says, فَوَيْلٌ لَهُمْ مِمَّا كَتَبَتْ مِيثَاقَكُمْ. It's not a verb because it starts with the kasra. You mentioned that earlier that these words will not start with the kasra. It's mudaf ilayh. See, it says over here, katabat. Hiya. Now this is beautiful, right? The reason why it's katabat and not kataba is because hands in Arabic are considered to be a feminine noun. And aydiyahum, right here, is the doer of it. And since the doer of it is there, it's feminine. Katabat is also feminine, right? So you can see the effect that the verb takes from the noun that comes after it. Okay. In the last ayah, you also have two verbs. And both of them refer to what pronoun? You have two verbs, and they both refer to the same pronoun. Which ones do we have? We have atmamtu and raditu. Don't look at beginnings, look at endings. Always look at endings. I. The beginning can confuse you at times. because we're still memorizing verbs, right? But the endings are very consistent. So ana, yes, I. Solid, alhamdulillah. So drill number 1, 2, and 3, and there's no specific drill number assigned to this concept, this point that I made, that try your best to read it to someone, say it to someone, memorize it, make an effort on reading it out loud, memorizing the chart, memorizing some vocabulary verbs so that you can build it up. So drill number 1, 2, and 3, there are more drills for fi'l madi, but I'm only assigning drill 1, 2, and 3. Next week, drill 4, 5, and 6 will touch base on in the class. Right? Inshallah. Can verbs be more than 3 letters? Yes, they can. That's why I said look at the ending. That was the one that I was referring to. They can be more than 3 letters. That's why in the start of 201 we learn about different patterns. But again, 95% of the time there are 3 letters. That's how they're built up. And even the ones that are not 3 letters, they were originally 3 letters, and because of a pattern, it changed. Sarf, a lot of sarf is based on patterns. In Nahu, meanings are found in i'rab. In sarf, meanings are found in patterns. Right? Meanings are found in patterns. So inshallah, I feel confident. So I ask you all, where do you feel like you're out? Where you are out of 10? Who finds sarf to be easier than Nahu? And who finds Nahwa to be easier than sarf? If you spend some time doing these drills, I'm extremely confident that you will be able to, inshallah, get this down, locked down, inshallah ta'ala. If you don't do the drills, I think you'll struggle. Because this concept, normally, I think we teach it in our full-time school. I teach it in like 1 or 2 weeks. Like really. Like it takes a long time to cover this because I make them memorize it and say it to me. So we're not doing that over here, right? What we're doing over here is explaining it, identify, where the focus is more so on identifying. And your responsibility becomes to memorize on your own. So the onus of memorization is on you. Of course, vocab is something that we got to start building up more and more, inshallah. And when we do 201, inshallah, you just keep adding to it. So we have 2 or 3 sessions left of 101. Inshallah, we see you all in 201 as well, inshallah ta'ala. It gets a little harder, but it also becomes more enjoyable because we know more. And we've covered more. Alhamdulillah. Any questions? The Vimeo recording is pretty much automatically there. Futihat. It's still here, right? Look at the ending is always what we should be focusing on for now. That's a good point, Sister Asrar, Brother Asrar. What we should do is also read the Quran. As we're reading it, look for these verbs and try to identify conjugation. Yeah, inshallah. Allah bless you all, inshallah. Allah reward you all. And it's beautiful being back. I just got back on Monday night, late night. So it's good to be back in class with everyone. Alhamdulillah. Allah bless you all. Allah reward you all. May Allah allow us to go visit His beautiful house and visit the Prophet ﷺ again and again. Inshallah, one day together. Inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah khair, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.